Hello and welcome to a video I look forward to filming every single month, and that is my TBR jar. And of course, we are picking some books out for July. I cannot believe that summer is here in full force, especially here in Florida with the heat. However, I'm so excited to use my prompt jar to pick out some books for this summer. I have obviously a little bit of a plan. You saw on Wednesday, actually, I posted my summer TBR video where I talked through all of the books I wanted to read throughout the summer, as well as my summerween plans. I will not be diving into my summerween plans, even though obviously summerween does take place in July, because I did already go over them in the summer TBR. So if you are curious, feel free to check that one out. But this one, the focus is for July. And without further ado, I'm going to get started because I just love prompt jars so much. I honestly need to do some sort of like reading challenge or something with a prompt jar, just because I love the serotonin it gives me. There's so much mystery and suspense. Maybe not. I don't know. Okay, we're starting with the first one. This one's calling my name. I don't know. I hear it. It's fine. The first one is a book with an odd number of pages, which is perfect because I do believe last month I looked for a book with an even number of pages. So let me go ahead and peruse the shelves to see if I can find one with an odd number. I felt like it was kind of a struggle to find a book with an odd number of pages, which I was not expecting. But every single book that I picked up had a nice round even number of pages, which obviously was not what I was looking for, but I did settle on The Mysterious Society of Lady Scoundrels by India Holton. There are tabs in this book, however, I have not read this. Is actually gifted to me by Katie, and I kept the 4 tabs that she put in here. So clearly these must have been very, very essential to her reading experience of needing to tab. And there's not even annotations, there's just 4 tabs. Anyways, I'm getting off on a little bit of a tangent. I've actually really enjoyed India Holton's writing. It is very humorous, very fun, and I actually have read 10 chapters into this novel. And then I accidentally DNF'd it because I just never got around to actually finishing it. I am going to be starting this over. However, I remember umbrellas that doubled as guns, and actually that's kind of all I remember, but this was screaming summer vibes to me, so I thought I'd pick it up. All of India Holton's books have been very, very fun, and this one definitely was no exception. Actually was my dive into India Holton, but like I said, only made it the 10 chapters in, but this time I'm determined to actually read the entire novel. We have Cecilia, who is part of the Wisteria Society, and her aunt gets into some sort of trouble, and she has to team up with Ned to save her. Now, Ned is an assassin who's actually smitten with Cecilia, but unfortunately has been tasked to kill Cecilia. So there's that kind of like wrench in the plans of his romance. And I'm just really excited to dive back into India Holton's writing. The last book I read by her was a little bit of a miss. So knowing that I read 10 chapters and enjoyed my time with this one, hopefully it will reinvigorate my enjoyment of India Holton. And I'm just ready for a silly, goofy, fun time with umbrellas and assassins and thieves, which is what India Holton has promised. I kind of dived right into this video without any prelude of like how many books I'm gonna be drawing out of the TBR jar and like what the plans are. And for that, I do apologize. I was just really, really excited to film this video that I forgot to explain. Obviously, like I said, TBR prompt jar, there's prompts. You got an example. We're actually gonna do things a little differently than my past TBR jar videos. Typically, I only pick about 5 prompts and then I add like 3 or so extras. However, I think we're actually going to draw 8 prompts out of the prompt jar to give me as much variety as possible. Since we will have Summerween and I already have all of those books on my TBR, I don't think we need to add any more outside of the prompt jar. So we are going to draw just 8 out of here, which I think is also way too many, but I like some options, okay? I like some variety, and that's what we're going for. So we're gonna go ahead and stir it up a little bit here, and we're gonna go with this one. Okay, next prompt is book with water on the cover, and I actually have the perfect book for that. Oh wait, no I don't. That's on my Summerween TBR. Drat. Okay, time to peruse my shelf and look for some water. I did peruse my shelves and I could not find a book that I felt like reading that had water on it. However, I will be stopping by the library because there is a book that I do want to read, I just don't own it, and that is volume 7 of One Piece. If you don't know, I started my One Piece journey last October by watching the live action, and I have been really wanting to read the manga. However, I kind of took a pause in reading the manga because I started binging Gachi Akata and Yona of the Dawn. But it's been so long since I picked up a One Piece volume, and guys, I kind of miss them, okay? I kind of miss the Straw Hats. And while I was thinking about it, I went ahead and checked what volume 7 looked like, and would you look at that, shockingly, the book about pirates set on the water has some water on the cover. So I went ahead and threw a One Piece on my TBR, and I'll be popping by the library to pick up the 7th volume to continue my read of One Piece. I actually was starting to collect the omnibus volumes, which is basically a bind up of 3 volumes at a time. And I did the first 2, so 1 through 6. However, I don't think I want to actually collect One Piece. Like, I want to collect my favorite covers of One Piece. However, there's a lot of books, and I don't know if I want Luffy on the spine staring at me all the time. So I think we're ending my omnibus collecting journey, and I will be returning to the library copies to read that, which is fine, honestly. I don't collect a lot of mangas unless they're like my absolute favorite. Obviously, One Piece has made its way up there with the live action. However, I've never seen the anime, so I want to experience the manga. So volume 7 is my pick for water on the cover. On to my next one. With the prompt jar, one of my goals is to tackle my physical TBR, but like I just did with the previous prompt, I do also like, you know, reading some books that I don't own. With that, yes, the priority is my bookshelves and perusing my bookshelves, but if nothing is jumping out at me, I don't want to force it. Hence One Piece. So we're gonna go ahead and pick our next prompt. Sometimes they'll fall out, but none have fallen out this time. Speak of the devil. Right as I said that, of course, one fell out. And the prompt is, it says longest book on your TBR, but then in parentheses it says time. So basically the longest book I've had on my TBR year-wise. So I'm actually going to scroll through Goodreads to see what the first or like earliest books that I added to my TBR is. And then from there, I'll peruse my shelves to see if I own any of them or if I want to do a little library nab situation. I had a little bit of a tough decision to make. So I did semi-recently, maybe it was like a year ago at this point, clear out my Goodreads, like want to read. I still have a lot of books in here that I no longer really want to read. I didn't start using Goodreads until 2019, and then I didn't start actually adding into like my want to read pile until 2022, because my earliest book added, it says, is December 15th, 2022, which was Bloodmarked, which is the second book in the Legendborn series. And I am not ready to dive into that series yet. I actually don't know if it's complete. I think it's gonna be a quartet, and I think it's almost complete, but I wanna wait till it's done to be able to like binge through that entire series. And I just wasn't really feeling it because I knew I'd have to reread Legendborn, and I don't want to reread Legendborn. So I decided to mark Bloodmarked off of the list. Same with The Devil's Thief. I could read The Last Magician. That's a reread to finish that series, but it's one of those series, again, I'm holding off to read all in one go, and I don't think this summer is the summer for that. And then the next book on the list is Chain Gang All-Stars, which not really feeling, and I also don't own. So the 4th earliest book, which was added January 2nd of 2023, is actually a book that I own, which is Kaiki. I'm actually shocked that this book was on my TBR for that long, which, to be fair, 3 years is not like the longest amount of time. And I couldn't remember when I bought certain books on my shelves and such, so I just decided to go with the Goodreads date added to my want to read shelf. And someone actually had just mentioned this book last month to me, asking if I had read it and whether or not I enjoyed it because it was one of their favorite books. And I hadn't thought about this book since I added it to my TBR back in 2023. So I feel like it's perfect that someone just mentioned it last month and then for it to actually be on my Goodreads want to read. This is actually a mythic retelling about Ramayana, who is apparently like a vilified queen. And let me actually pull up Google because I actually don't know anything about Ramayana. Please pardon my pronunciation on all of this, but Ramayana is one of the ancient India's foundational Sanskrit epics, traditionally attributed to the sage Valmiki. The 24,000 verse poem chronicles the life of Rama, an avatar of the gods Vishnu, and explores vital Hindu concepts of duty, righteousness, and the triumph of good over evil. And in the blurb here, it says it's the unforgettable tale of a woman determined to leave her mark in a world where gods and men dictate the shape of things to come. And I'm just really excited to read this story. I've heard really good things about it. Obviously, I added it to my TBR for a reason, and since one one of you had mentioned it was one of your favorite books as well that made me extra excited. I love reading people's favorite books because obviously they're favorites for a reason, and I cannot wait to discover it. So if you have read this book, please let me know your thoughts. I'm really keen to dive into this book, which is amazing because, again, without the TBR jar leading me to it, I don't think I would have reached this book for another maybe 3 years. So let's return to the TBR jar and see what it will draw me to next. Okay, there's like a bunch tied up here. And we have book with an even number of pages. This is a repeat from last month, but you know what? We'll have an odd page, we'll have an even page, and I already have a book in mind. Since I had hunted so hard for the odd number of pages, I found quite a lot of even pages, and that book, which you saw me look at earlier, is Dawn Shard. This is the homework assignment to continue on and finish reading the Stormlight Archives. This is the novella that is recommended to read after Oathbringer. There's like a certain order that you should like read the novellas in, and I've been following what the people tell me to. And the people said, pick this up after Oathbringer and before Rhythm of War, and I had no idea what this book was about before I grabbed it. There's boats, you guys. Not only are there boats, there's a ghost ship and a hidden island. I am so excited. Like I said, I had no idea what this novella was about. All I knew is I needed to read it before Rhythm of War and after Oathbringer. But there's a ghost ship. Why did none of you tell me there was a ghost ship? The fact that I would have read this, I would have picked this up so much earlier if I knew there was boats involved. Sorry, I have a thing for boats. I like boats, you guys, okay? I'm a simple gal, okay? But a ghost ship? Even cooler, okay? Obviously, it's a short one, which might be tragic for my love of ghost ships and ships in general. However, I hope I enjoy my time reading. And then when I do finish this, it means it's easier for me to dive back into the Stormlight Archives. And actually, speaking of, something very exciting happened the other day that I wanted to tell you about. Katie and I got tickets to Dragonsteel Nexus, which is basically, if you don't know, a Brandon Sanderson themed convention about, like, I guess all of his books. It's just fantasy and Brandon Sanderson and all of the things. So my new goal is by the end of the year, because it takes place in December, I need to be completely caught up on all Cosmere novels. So I'm going to need to read 2 massive Stormlight Archive books by the end of the year. Kind of a big ask. However, now that I have like a solidified deadline, it's gonna have to happen. I do not want to go to Dragonsteel Nexus with the threat of spoilers looming over me. So determined, and this is the next step that is needed. Are we halfway through? I think we're halfway through now. That was 4, right, you guys? And if not, just pretend it's been 4. I will be doing a bit of journaling at the very end, so please stay tuned for that. I love making TBR pages. I made my first one last month and it was so fun. And I feel like this month is going to be no exception, so hold on for that. But in the meantime, let's do book 5 and hope that it is in fact book 5 and not like book 6 or 3 or whatever. Anyways, book you started but never finished. The way that India Holton book would have been so good for this. Okay, we're gonna have to peruse the shelves. It feels kind of cruel that the India Holton book would have fit this prompt so perfect, but obviously I picked it for a different prompt. So let's go look for one. I actually thought it would take me longer to locate a book. However, with my perusing of Goodreads earlier, this one has been on my currently reading shelf for a hot minute, and the bookmark is still in the book. We have The Lies of Loch Lamora by Scott Lynch, and this book has been on my TBR forever, you guys, forever. And I started reading it, I was doing good, and I don't even remember why I stopped reading it. And I stopped reading it in a really good part as well. And I don't know if I want to start it over or not. The last time I updated this, it says is November of 2025. That was a lot of months ago, you guys. And I don't want this to be a book that takes me over 8 months to get around to reading. Been there, done that, you guys, okay? We remember the Wise One's Fear. We don't have to talk about that. I don't know if I like love the beginning enough though to like reread the beginning parts, you know? So I might try to just dive into it, and then if I find myself lost or confused, maybe I'll see if I can find like a first half recap, because I remember where I left off. I just don't remember little details, and I don't want to miss little details, and I don't want that to affect my enjoyment. So yes, this is a book I have started and have yet to finish, and so here we are. Didn't think this book would make it onto a TBR anytime soon, but it just feels like the perfect book to put on here for this prompt. All right, we've got 3 more prompts to pull out, and I really don't want a repeat prompt because we already have had 1 repeat prompt. So we're gonna go with this one. I don't take the prompts out of the prompt jar permanently unless there's a prompt that I only had like one book that fit the prompt, and then I'm like, okay, well, don't want to put myself in a pickle there, so I'll take it out. But I like variety, and I don't even remember what prompts are in the prompt jar, so it's like a surprise every time. But it's no fun when it's a repeat, you know? Popular book you haven't read. I might have to peruse the library for this one, but I'll peruse my shelves first. I kind of crack myself up with my ambition because the way I added this to my TBR was such confidence, being like, this is the one. When I know that I have so many really long books on my TBR this summer, but I'm like, what's another one? Why not add Outlander to the list? And it's funny too, because I was thinking about it, I was like, dang, the Liza Locke Lamora would have also been a really perfect book to put for this prompt, but I just picked it for a different prompt. But we have Outlander. It's actually the 20th anniversary edition, so you know, popular enough to get a special edition. Also, my friend is watching the TV show and has not stopped talking in a Scottish accent when talking about it. And it just makes me so excited having been to Scotland now. And actually, if we're being honest, you guys, I have a bunch of footage from Scotland last year that I have just sat on because last year I kind of took a break from my YouTube channel because I didn't have time to film as much. However, I would love to film an Outlander vlog and incorporate all of my old Scotland clips and be able to like talk about that trip because I had the best time. What better book to read with the Scotland clips than Outlander? And it's been on my to-do list for quite some time. Is July the month this will happen? I'm not sure because this video plan has been on my to-do list, yet it keeps getting moved month to month to month. However, the TBR jar has led me to Outlander. In case you don't know what Outlander is about, because I actually didn't until my friend was talking to me about it. I just knew it was something that I would enjoy, most likely. Claire basically touches a stone and it transports her back in time to a Scotland that is torn by war. And, you know, she's in the Highlands, which were my favorite part of Scotland, if we're being so honest. So I'm so excited to read this book, read the descriptions, and kind of envision the Scotland that I had experienced while reading the book. This will be the most I've ever picked out of the TBR prompt jar because usually I only do 5 or 6, but now we're up to 7. So here we go. We're gonna just grab it right at the top. I feel like I've been lollygagging so much with picking these. Have a friend pick. Oh my gosh, perfect. Let me see if I can ring up Katie to see if she'll answer. I will be honest with you guys, there's a high likelihood that she will not answer. It's looking bleak, you guys. Okay, we're giving up with Katie. I'm gonna call Mackenzie to see if she answers. Okay, neither of my bookish friends are answering. I'm going to try Katie one more time, and then we're gonna move on, and I will let them know that they have ruined this video. I know Katie has nothing better to do than talk to me. Definitely. Okay, neither of them answered the phone, which is very, very rude of them. However, I still really love this prompt. I think it's a very fun prompt. If she ends up calling me while I'm still recording, then obviously I'll let you know. But I have one more prompt to draw, so the chances of that happening are very, very slim. Without any further ado, let's go ahead and just draw the 8th and final prompt, and you guys can feel free to leave some really mean comments to Katie since she didn't pick up my phone call, which is very rude because I thought that was gonna be a fun little bit. And then she ruined it by not being available at 3 p.m., which is fine. I'm not salty at all, you guys. Okay, moving on from that, I'm sorry. Book starts with what? Book starts with random letter. Actually, that just says like Letty, because my handwriting is atrocious. Oh, okay. Book that starts with a random level. Oh my god, I cannot speak. Guys, Katie not answering has just ruined my ability to film this video. Okay, book starts with a random letter. So I'm going to do a letter. Oh my god, a random letter generator to pick the letter, and then I will peruse my shelves and possibly peruse my Goodreads. Random letter chooser. We have the wheel. It will spit out a letter, A to Z, and I will allow you to be the one to see it. And it has volume. How fun is that? Okay, what letter did it land on? Is that L? I can't tell from here. It is. You're actually kidding me right now? It's an X. It's an X. The end of this video is cursed, you guys. Okay. Do I have a single book on my shelf that starts with the letter X? Or I might have to get a little creative, you guys. Okay, I've perused my entire shelf. We're gonna look to see if there's a book that I want to read that starts with the letter X. And then we might respin the wheel, okay? I hate to do that. There actually is a book, theoretically, I could read, but I don't know if I wanted to actually finish that series. And I read it over like 4 years ago, and it was Ender's Game. It's actually a quartet. So we have Ender's Game, it's like Songs of the Dead, Speaker of the Dead, and then Xenocide, which is book 3. But I didn't love the second book, so I don't know if I want to read the third book or not, but that is an option. Okay, we're gonna look on Goodreads with titles that begin with an X. Oh my god, XOXO! I've already read that book, but that would have been a good one. Oh, this is looking bleak. Oh, there's a boat on this one. What is this? Xanth? What is Xanth? Piers Anthony. There's 58 books. Oh my god, wait. Katie's answering. Hey.
You rang?
I did ring. So I'm filming my July TBR, and I pulled a prompt that says have a friend pick a book. I thought...
Do you need me for that still?
I do still. I'm still filming it because the next prompt that I picked, which was the last one, was a book that starts with an X. So for the past 5 minutes, I've been trying to find a book that starts with an X. And I was like, oh, perfect. Maybe Katie will call me back.
I can't think of a single book that starts with an X.
Yeah, we're working on it right now. I'm discovering new things. It's fine. But in the meantime, while I peruse for X books, do you want to search for a book? It can be on your bookshelf. It can be any book at all. It's just a book picked by a friend.
Just any book that I want you to read?
Yes. This is your chance.
Oh, this is my moment.
This is your moment.
Maybe a little War and Peace. Maybe a little, I can't think of another long book. I mean, maybe think here. All right, the book that I have chosen for Cass to read in July is a fun one. It's a little bit of fantasy romance. A little bit along the vibes of Wisteria Society. So, like, you know, we're in the same ballpark, but it's like a little bit different. It's funny. You've read from this author before. I don't think you like the books that you read from this author, but this one's different. So, I think this month you should read...
I know exactly what it is. Sword Heart.
By T. Kingfisher.
Wait, no, that's perfect. Okay.
The sequel comes out next month. In August, next month. There you go.
The second you said I've read by this author but didn't like them, I was like, I know she's about to hold up Sword Heart. But honestly, that works. I feel like that gives kind of summer vibes. I feel like it's like a July read, you know? Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Your review. You're welcome.
T. Kingfisher actually has been like a little bit of a dud for me, but this is again so outside the realm of like the books that I had read by her. So I'm actually really excited about this, and I have heard really good things about Sword Heart, and I'm not actually that surprised that Katie picked that book for me. But again, this is the joy of the TBR jar. Books are being added to my TBR that I would have never imagined or thought about, honestly. So I guess I need to recheck out Sword Heart because I actually have had it previously checked out from the library, and then I had to return it because it got overdue because I never read it. But maybe July is the month. But we are going to return to that last prompt that we were doing because I could not find a single book with X that I wanted to read, guys, okay? Apologies to the TBR jar. It was trying to lead me somewhere, but clearly with no such luck. Here's the deal. You guys recommend X books with X's, okay? I'll peruse them, and if they sound interesting, whatever book I pick next from the spinner wheel, maybe I'll remove from the TBR and replace it with one of y'all's recommendations, okay? We're gonna have this very, very interactive, it seems. So round 2 for the letter picker wheel, because it steered me wrong the first go around. Please don't be X again. Please be a normal letter. Just normal letter. H. H is a perfectly normal letter. I like to see that. Okay, I think I'm gonna peruse my shelves because nothing is like right off the top of my head coming out. And then I'll look at Goodreads and we'll see what we're gonna do, okay? We already have a couple library books we gotta obtain anyways, so you know, what's another one? Okay, the TBR jar has led me on a journey. I've actually had so much fun filming this video, so even though it's really chaotic, especially in the end here, I hope that you've enjoyed. But the book that I chose is one I actually checked earlier, and that is How to End a Love Story by Yuling Huang. This was her debut, and I actually started reading this, maybe made it like 20 pages in. I didn't make it that far in, but I'm trying to add more romance books to my TBR because that's what I typically reach for in the summer, and I do really love reading romance books in the summer, especially because they're really good books for me to read while I'm working flight attendant trips that maybe start really early in the morning and I don't have a lot of brain power for like high fantasy novels. So having something light and easy to read on my TBR is definitely essential, and I think How to End a Love Story is that. This book follows an author named Helen and a screenwriter named Grant, and Helen actually is adapting her book into a movie, or it's getting adapted, but she's in the writing room. But Grant is like the head screenwriter for the series, but something tragic kind of like interwove them together, and they kind of, okay, Helen doesn't like Grant. Grant, I assume, I remember it being really dramatic, actually, now that I think about this, because I did start this book. It's all, I know I said that. Oh my God. The chaos is just getting to my brain at this point. But I did start this book, and I remember whatever, like, it says the tragedy, it's been 13 years since a tragic accident that bound their lives together forever. And I remember it being like super tragic, super depressing, very much so like, how will you ever get over that situation? So having that expectation going in, I think will actually help me enjoy it more, knowing that it's like ridiculously tragic and they have to work through that together. Regardless though, I'm excited to dive into this world of like screenwriting and the behind the scenes of like film production. I actually went to college before dropping out. I wanted to do post-production design work and like be in the film industry. Obviously, different direction my life took, and I am very happy for it. But regardless, I think it'll be really cool still to like dive into that and explore that world. It has been quite the journey with the TBR jar, leading me to not what I expected at all, which is the joy of these videos. Every time I do a TBR jar video, there's not a chance I know what direction it is going to take me. It's like fate in a bowl, you know? It's a fantastic time, and if you've never done a TBR jar, I definitely recommend it. It's so fun. Clearly a little chaotic as well, but I'm here for the chaos. Like I said earlier, recommend me some X books, and maybe I will take, actually I probably will still read How to End a Love Story. But still leave me X books, and maybe I can sneak one on to my already extremely ambitious July TBR because, mind you, here's the 8 books, right? I still got all of the Summerween books I want to read. Not to mention, none of these books were on my summer TBR, like my overarching summer TBR. We'll see how July goes. Maybe I'll read 20 books, or maybe I will hit my classic summer reading slump and only read 4. But regardless, I am feeling really good about the direction that my reading is taking, or at least the direction my TBR jar made my reading take. And while I may not be able to prioritize all of these, I think still having them in my mind, especially in like the coming months, knowing I want to get to them soon, I think it all was worth it. Please let me know if there are some books that I should prioritize that I put on my TBR. Let me know some books that you have on your TBR. I'd love to hear. And of course, thank you all so much for watching, and I do hope to see you in my next one. Toodles!